introductions. Namaste everybody. My name is Kamna Gupta and I'm a Chetna alumni. I'm going to be a sophomore at IUPUI, and we're kids too, so take what we say with a grain of salt, but definitely listen and try to interpret it for yourself.
I'm Nina Jain. I am a youth leader at the temple, at the Chetna program, and I am a sophomore at Rebuff Jesuit.
Hi, I'm Grant Gupta. I'm also one of the youth leaders. I'm a junior at Carmel High School.
And I'm Aruna. I go to Park Tutor and I'm a junior there helping the Chetna program.
Yeah, it's all right. We do have some questions.
Great.
So, our first question is for Kamna. What challenges do you see when trying to bring other youth to Mandir and Hindu events? And the second part of the question, if there is a challenge, how do you overcome the challenge?
That's a great question. I think there definitely is a challenge, not just with getting Indian kids into Hinduism and being more one with the temple and their religion. I think religion as a whole gets a negative connotation as something that's boring or trivial or very orthodox and not very scientific or modern. So a lot of kids nowadays who are learning a lot of, modern and sciencey things in school don't see religion as something that's imperative to their learning and growing. And being there firsthand, I can tell you that while being an Indian person, growing up in an American education system, you're seen different and you're obviously not Christian. And so all those things like church retreats are how we try to, as a temple, bring that church retreat aspect by doing a temple HTCI camp like this. So it definitely is a huge challenge because as Indian people and as people of different skin colors, as Sanjay Uncle was saying, we face a lot of stigmatism in society, not only religiously, but by color of skin. And to merge that gap, we try to bring people to the mandir, create a fun learning experience. I think that's very important because oftentimes, like I said, religion can seem very dull when it's not at all. It can be very enjoyable. So with games and all the youth leaders, we always think of all these new ideas and activities to bring people in and have especially kids enjoy their time at the mandir. And with things like this camp, we kind of signify what it means to have like a church retreat, but for Hindus. Do you guys have anything to add? Alright. Does that clear up that question?
Yes.
Okay, wonderful.
The question is for Agran. What motivates you to do volunteer work at the mandir?
Personally, I just have loved volunteering, regardless where it is, even at the mandir, at the children's museum, just in the community. It's because we're so blessed with what we get. There's so many people out there that need that. Just seeing a smile and helping them, it really shows that what we're doing has an effect, and we're really helping our community grow and making everybody's lives at least a little bit better. Personally, about volunteering, I think that's it for me.
So Agran mentioned he loves volunteering. I also love to volunteer, and my favorite volunteering is in the mandir because I get to know who I'm helping with my volunteering, and I get to see the results every time I come to the mandir of my volunteering. And that's probably the best part of seeing the positive impact of what you do. And that's why the youth that we have here, the young children we have here, that's one thing that you should always look forward to as you grow older. It's volunteering and helping out your temple.
And actually, Nina and I both wrote articles in our camp booklet about Seva, so please check those out. Those have a lot about volunteering and the importance of Seva and how beneficial it is for the Indianapolis community.
So another thing I wanted to add is that when you're doing service in any aspect of your life, what you should be doing is finding something that you enjoy. So whether it's cooking in the kitchen or going outside and pulling weeds or climbing on the roof and putting up lights for Diwali, anything that you can find that you really, really enjoy and look forward to and is actually a lot of fun for you to do. And if that includes Seva, all the better. There are a lot of things I've done at the temple that people don't know that I've ever been a part of, or you can physically see, but I won't tell anybody that, I won't take credit for it, because I just love seeing how people admire something that I've done when they have no idea that I've done it. It's one of the most rewarding experiences and feelings that you can have.
Thank you, Nina. Thank you, Agren, and thank you, Arnav. The next question is for Nina. I know you do a lot of volunteer work, and that's why I pose this to you, is how do you balance temple and school?
Okay, temple and school is a really difficult balance. I think all of us here know that it's really difficult to drive 45 minutes to go to the temple and then potentially spend hours there depending on if your parents are in a meeting or if you're working outside or doing other things. So what I usually do is, right now, this morning, I got to temple, I got here, I woke people up in the morning, and then I went back to my cabin and started doing homework. And then I came back and started, I was here, came for the opening meeting and on the panel. So what you really have to do is you have to make sure that you schedule your time wisely, so that you know, okay, I know that my Sunday I'm not going to be able to have all this time to push my homework to Sunday. So I really need to get it done Friday or Saturday, or get it done in school when I know I have things to do. You guys have anything to say?
I think that's covered very well, Nina. Thank you so much. This one's for Arnav. What do you think is the most important thing one should look forward to learning in Maldives?
Well, everyone knows that the curriculum is based on whatever the holy text we have, so we go Ramayana, Mahabharata, Bhagavad Gita, Jitna. But aside from that, the things we learn in terms of service to the community, service to others, service to God, service to our temple, that's really what I look forward to the most, is learning how I can provide a service and learning how I can apply myself in the community for the future. Because that's what's going to be important, the most important as we move on in the future, even 20, 30 years from now. Because all of us, the kids, will be leading this temple 20 to 30 years into the future.
So from a college perspective, I think one of the biggest things we face as a society in general is defining yourself. And I think the Mandir is a wonderful place to learn your own self-identity. And there's a beautiful quote by Mahatma Gandhi that I keep in my room actually, and it's, the best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in service of others. And I have never felt that in like a much more real sense than when I'm at the Mandir, helping people, helping my own community, and even on campus at IUPUI and helping people then. Especially like when you get really busy, as all of us do as students, it's really easy to lose sight of who you are, and it's really easy to get low and really stressed out. But the best way, like Gandhiji said, is to like find yourself is to lose yourself in service of others. So that's something that I feel like every Bhagavatam student should start to learn for themselves.
We'll move a little bit faster too. Thank you both, Kamna and Arnav. Agreed, this one's for you. Are you involved in sports? What is the importance of sports? What are the challenges faced as an Indian American kid in the USA in the sporting arena?
Well, as for the importance of sports, obviously it's a way to get physical exercise, to meet friends. The one thing I like a lot about sports is the teamwork aspect. You're working with people you really don't know, and you meet a lot of friends that way, and it's just, you as a team, you go through hardships together, you go through the highs together, and it's the feeling that when you won, you know it's a group effort, and that everybody did their part in making the entire thing a success.
And sports do help you feel inclusive. It's very important that we do include ourselves in sports, because that does create a good team, and that does include you. It doesn't, ostracize you, right? One more for you, Agren, is when did you start helping at the temple?
When did I start helping at the temple? Yes. My parents have been involved at the temple since I've been born, and it's just something that I've kind of been grown into. It wasn't one day I was like, oh man, I just want to randomly start helping at the temple. I mean, I see my parents doing so much work, coming to the temple every Sunday, doing conference calls in the middle of the week, and it's like, I mean, they're not really getting as much out of it, but they're putting so much effort because they care about the temple, and they care about the success, and that so everybody else is happy, and so that it's just, they do it to help others.
Wonderful, thank you. This one's for Kamna, one more time. What are the challenges in talking Indian languages as an Indian American?
This one's funny. Okay, so I speak, read, write Hindi, but when I talk to someone who is a native, from India, and like many of you are, whose Hindi is very shuddh, right? So my accent and sometimes the words I'm saying and the feminism, well, I don't even know what you call it. That's how bad my Hindi is. Yeah, but so that's funny because then I'm always paranoid, oh my gosh, am I even saying this the right way? And then when I'm around people who don't even know Hindi, I'm incredibly confident in how I'm saying it. And sometimes it's really beneficial to have another language to speak with, especially in front of other people. You don't want them to know you're talking about someone else. But yeah, so it also ties me to my culture. But I don't even know if I answered that question. I just think it's funny because my Hindi is not amazing. And people who listen to it think it is sometimes, but it's really not, so.
Thank you, Kamna. Go ahead.
So, I was going to add on to that, but the thing is that I don't speak Hindi. So, I think I've always wanted to, and I've always tried to learn, but it's never happened because it's different than when my parents went to India and they would stay there for months at a time and none of their family would speak in English to them or things like that. But when I go to India, everybody refuses to speak Hindi with me. They will not speak in Hindi with me, ever, because they want to practice their English. And I'm trying to practice my Hindi, and it's just a bad mix of the two. So neither one of us learned either of them. So the thing is that I think the main basis for me wanting to at least understand Hindi, so I can understand Hindi pretty well, I can piece things together, is that my parents would always speak at the dinner table in Hindi if they didn't want Nikki and I to know what they were saying. So Nikki and I would slowly take lessons from our nani and slowly learn and listen and understand so that we would know what they were saying, but we never told them that we knew what they were saying. So that's one thing that I definitely recommend. When you're younger, learn Hindi. And even if you don't learn Hindi when you're younger, go to college, take a class in Hindi because it's really important to know your mother language. And so you can have those long conversations with Nani or Dadi and both of you completely understand each other perfectly.
All right, next question is for everybody, whoever wants to answer it. And we'll give it to 30 seconds. How important is your identity to you? What is your identity? What do you consider to be your identity? And any advice about identity for younger Bal Gokulam children? 3 questions in one. So, how important is your identity to you? What do you see your identity to be? What is your identity? And any advice about, identity issues for younger children?
Alright, so Sanjay uncle had shown us a diagram of how our identity as a whole is going to be Indian, American, and Hindu. And I really try to represent the Indian and Hindu when I'm in an environment such as my school where the presence is lacking, because I feel that identity of myself is unique and a lot of people can gain stuff from me from keeping that identity. And keeping that identity helps me feel that I'm more Indian and I embrace the values that I've been taught for the past years.
Anything else?
Take it then, I guess. So I go to Rebuff Jesuit, which is a Catholic high school. So being in a very small group of Indian or even Hindu kids, sometimes it's really difficult to try to fit in, but you make it interesting with your friends. So I was telling everybody that I was coming to Hindu Heritage Camp, and all of my friends were just like, oh, that's so cool, tell me more, and things like that. But yeah, so you definitely try to represent your community and where you come from and your heritage, because you're in an environment where it's not as represented. But then also, I make sure to tell people that I'm not just Indian, I'm not just Hindu and Jain, I'm also an American. So you have to make sure that people see you as both, because if you only show one side of you, there's a huge stigma that goes with different things, especially going to a Catholic high school and not being Catholic or even any denomination of Christian or an Abrahamic faith. Like, it's really difficult to relate to people when you're taking like a religion class. So really just embrace all 3 or 4 or how many roots you have. So I identify as an Indian American Hindu Jain. That's my identity. I'm not just Indian, I'm not just American, I'm not just Hindu, I'm not just Jain.
All right. And I have tried to club. You want to say something, Kama?
Really fast.
All right.
Can I?
Yep.
That'd be great. So I feel like identity, like saying like what your identity is a huge existential crisis for every single person in this room. I don't think anyone can say, hey, this is who I am, because that people take years and years and like their whole lifetimes to figure out who they are. So I agree with everything everyone said today, and you can use these words, Hindu, Jain, Christian, American, Indian. You can use all of these words as defining terms, but I would not, personally, I wouldn't use them as a label. Like, try not to live into a label, try not to be like someone else, be your own person, figure out who you are, because really nobody in this world really has an identity that they can say, I have been this person from day 1 till the day I die. Like, it's a huge existential crisis, and you shouldn't be able to answer that question. And if you have, then tell me your secret, because I don't know how to do that. So,
I think this question is very apt for the topic we have, because we have Sampradaya as a topic. What is my identity? Am I Swarnaran? Am I a Hindu? Nina would say, am I a Jain? Am I a Hindu? But you are a Hindu and a Jain both at the same time. So let that not confuse you. Alright? So let your Sampradaya identity not confuse you about your Hindu identity. That's very important.
One thing we need to be very clear here.
Yeah.
Let me make it very clear. Hello. Let's make it very clear. This is confusing ourselves. No. Hindu is a descriptor. Hindu is not a dharma. None of the Hindu books say Hindu is a dharma. No Bhagavad Gita, no way. So Hindu is a descriptor given to the people who live on that land which is called Bharatvarsh. Let's be very clear. So Hindu is not a dharma. So Vedic is a dharma. We'll talk about that. But make sure that Hindu is not a dharma. So Hindu is a descriptor given to the people who live on the land which is called Bharatvarsh.
Thank you. Alright, I have clubbed some questions together, so you've probably had your answers in some of them. So I'm not going to say all of them. Now, this again is for all of you. And I can see who these are coming from, right? If there is one thing that you would change about the temple, what would you change? Quick, 5 seconds or 10 seconds.
One thing about the temple that I would love to do more in the future is just more service in that community. I think there's so many opportunities, and
That's okay, you can speak loud.
there's a lot of opportunities.
No noise down here.
There's a lot of opportunities in our temple to do inside and outside, to do a lot of seva, and I think if we just need to explore our options a bit more and involve everybody and make it someplace where people can be so proud of the work they've done.
Next.
I think we're also, as Sanjay will talk about, moving into a technological age, so making our temple more technologically friendly would be great for our youth to work on.
I hope the EC and the board is taking note of this. Carry on. Anybody else wants to say anything?
This is like a cultural thing, but I think as a culture and society, we should learn to be more accepting and open-minded and more flexible in our community.
That's the temple?
I think in an Indian community.
Indian community, alright.
Just in general.
Just in general.
Just
yeah.
being more open to whoever Indian or Hindu, non-Indian person walks into our temple. We need to be much more open-minded and open to their welcoming. Yeah.
Welcoming.
Wonderful, wonderful. I think we've answered all the questions. We have Anilji.
I have just a comment. I heard from, when you are done, I would just like to make a
I
comment.
think we're done. That was the
Okay.
final question.
I heard a comment from Agrian that he saw his parents running to temple and doing all this, and his comment was what they got out of it. All four of you are sitting here are the proud product of their service and their hard work. The confidence the knowledge I see in you, the confidence I see in you, and the bright future I see in you is giving of that all hard work they did. And that is the goal of all our parents who are doing it is to make you something to represent the family and the heritage they have. Okay? So that is our game. Nobody taught you the value of seva. You saw them, it came to you automatically, and that's why you're following it.
And I'll tell you, all these four youth coordinators, I have seen them in action at the temple during the various events that we have. They are always in action whenever there is a seva opportunity. Agran is at parking, Arnav is in the kitchen, Nina is all over the place, Kamla is in cultural events, so they're all over the place. So thank you so much to all the four members.
Alright, please sit down. So we are running a little late.